I'm Erin Blake, and I first came to Rare Book School as a student in 2000, and then later I became a faculty member and a supporter of Rare Book School. I teach the history of printed book illustration in the West, which started before my time as Introduction to the History of Illustration, which was just much too big a topic for a week. So when I started teaching it, it was changed to printed book illustration. And it had always been Western oriented, but didn't explicitly say so. So that was also something that I asked to have changed because I couldn't become an expert at Rare Book School standards on anything other than the European tradition that I know. So I do have to be careful when students apply that they know that we're not going to be studying cowboy books, although we do have some Frederick Remington, so that still does get in there. The story of how I came to teach the class that's a story. The first class I took at Rare Book School in 2000 was Helena Zinkum's class on the introduction to cataloging visual materials. I was always an art person. And then right after that, of course, I wanted to take Terry Bellinger's class on identification of printmaking techniques. And I loved that class. And although I was a little intimidated by Terry at first, I quickly discovered that if he's wrong about something, and you can show him why this is incorrect, and he will see what this actually, he likes that. Shortly after that, I got a phone call from him. And he said, "Erin, I know that you know that I've been trying to find someone to teach the Introduction to Book Illustration class, and that Rare Book School faculty members are all very important people in the field. They are well known. This is the Rare Book School faculty. You really have to be someone. You're not anyone yet, but you will be. And I would like to invite you to teach the book illustration history class." And approval from Terry is a very powerful drug. And I was elated. And it turns out he was right. I actually, at that point, I really hadn't done. I was a curator of art at the Folger Shakespeare Library, but I wasn't particularly well known. And in the years since then, I've written on book illustration. I've given talks around the world. I'm known. I get thanked in the introductions to all sorts of books. And so he was right. And I'm really glad that he took a risk on me, because the camaraderie of Rare Book School, being a student, being faculty, being part of this group, is a really important part of my life. The thing that I think of most when I think about how the course has changed over the years has a lot to do with how the Rare Book School collection has changed over the years. That to begin with, the Rare Book School's collection was fairly limited. I mean, so there was some really good stuff as far as for teaching materials, but to get at some of the highlights that you really want students to get their hands on and look through, that had to be special collections. And over time, Rare Book School has acquired some amazing materials that are in the bindings complete. The illustrations are all there. They haven't had some of them cut out. And this has allowed me to do a full-scale, I call it bibliorama, where I set up little stations with all sorts of different books, and the students rotate around and spend as much or as little time as they want with each of the examples. And I had always done that with my class, but over time the Rare Book School examples got so good that I've cut back the special collections visits to just 2 over the course of the week. And to see some of the big name books that you have to see that Rare Book School happens not to have. But I love seeing students get excited about what they're looking at. I love seeing people get excited about these. You'll occasionally have someone actually jump up and down and say, "Come look at this, come look at this." And I just love that. Rare Book School's evolution over the past, 22 years, that's the great thing about starting in 2000, I can do the arithmetic very easily. the change has been extraordinary. That when I first came, the board didn't exist. It was Terry Bellinger doing his thing with a devoted staff. And I pitched in. I loved this when I was preparing to teach my course, going down into Lower Tibet, as the basement area was called, directly below the Tibetan section of the Alderman Library. And I was helping catalog things. I was helping prepare for class. The teaching weeks were very intense. And it was insane. People were working insane hours, but totally devoted to what they were doing, what we were doing. It was a real feeling of camaraderie. And we were all, we're all in it together, and we weren't quite down in the bomb shelter singing Roll Out the Barrel. And it was exhilarating, but not at all sustainable. You could do that for a few weeks each summer, maybe. And we were all, I was in my early 30s then. A lot of the staff members were in their 20s. And as time went by, it was becoming, I was really worried that it was looking like it was a one-man show, that we were so devoted to Terry and his vision and how he did things. And how could this survive after Terry retired? And I was really concerned that what made book school special was going to go away, and Rare Book School would just become a series of classes. And I was so pleased, so relieved when I saw what Michael Suarez was doing with Rare Book School, really transitioning Rare Book School into a sustainable kind of amazing place that still gives me goosebumps. And it was as if at first we were all of us pitching together to bail a leaking boat. And now we're all of us pitching together to adjust the rigging on a sailing ship that's moving forward in the field. And it's still special and it's still wonderful. And I have real hope and joy seeing what's going on, that I know this will continue after all the people who are here right now are gone. Well, one of the great things about being Rare Book School faculty is that you are allowed to take a course in exchange. There's also some remuneration, but nobody does this for the money. I do it because I love it. And the opportunity to take other courses is fabulous. There are all sorts of courses that I couldn't really justify taking for my job, but they're things that I'm curious about. Or even when they are things that I need for my job. I want to learn more. And you can learn so much in a week of Rare Book School. If I had spent that same amount of time just reading about it, I could probably have picked up some of the information, but it doesn't stick with you unless you have people talking about it and you're doing it. I write for the Folger's blog, The Collation. And every time I take a Rare Book School class, there's going to be a collation post about 2 weeks later where I get all excited about everything that I've learned. And Heather Wolf's paleography class was another one like that. I work with Heather. Her desk is next to mine, but I don't know the paleography. And seeing her teach, I learned a lot about teaching from her method of teaching. And I learned a lot about paleography, handwriting, ink, spelling. How to read early modern English handwriting was something that, again, I had tried to learn from a book. You can't learn it from a book. You have to have somebody teaching you the way the letters are formed and guiding you to learn. I support Rare Book School for several reasons. Obviously, it's a good cause. I believe in it, that sort of thing. But part of what got me started as a supporter was realizing that even really small contributions help. And at the time, I was new in my career. I had just started. I couldn't make any kind of substantial contribution. But just knowing that when they ran the numbers and were able to say, and we have however many supporters of our school, just by being one of those numbers I was helping, even though the actual dollar amount I was giving wasn't going to do much. And as time went on in my career, I was able to make a pretty substantial donation. Rare Book School is the perfect size of organization for someone like me. I'm a librarian. I'm not a wealthy donor. I'm not someone who gets courted. At least I wasn't until Rare Book School approached me. And I realized that someone like me could actually make a difference for Rare Book School, because the size of donation that I can make would be sneezed at a lot of other institutions, or laughed at, but is actually something that makes a difference for Rare Book School. And I can see the difference that it's making. And that makes me feel really pleased.